Good morning to Madam Ani and my fellow friends. My name is Steven Loy Tekpei, and today my group are going to present the question that we have chosen. That is, question number 3. The separation of power is typically viewed as a constitutional principle that divides the government into independent entities with varying responsibilities. Discuss with example the practice of separation of power between executive body, legislative body, and judiciary body in Malaysia.
Hello, my name is Siti Nur Shafira. Based on the topic and the title given, the objective of this assignment is about the separation of power between executive body, legislative body, and judiciary body in Malaysia. Separation of power, which is also called as res politica and known as the principle of constitutional, was introduced into the government to ensure each of authority doesn't use their power on other branch and to give that the right to a body in using their power without being manipulated by other body from other branch. The principle of constitutional consists of three branches, that executive, legislative, and judiciary, and each of branches has its own function and body that has its own authority. The federal government adopts the principle of separation of powers under Article 1 to 7 of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia and has three branches: executive, legislature, and judiciary. The state of government in Malaysia also have their respective executive and legislative bodies.
One of the branches of the federal government is executive. Executive can be defined as a group of people who are responsible in making important decisions for the country, formulate policy, and implement the policy that has been made by the legislative body in order to reduce the burden of the society, increase the safety of the country and society, and ensure each of department of the country run efficiently. Executive body at the federal level are consist of Prime Minister, Deputy of Prime Minister, Junior Minister, and a group of people that known as the Cabinet. They all are selected based on the election and are placed on the place that known as the Dewan Rakyat. One of the examples of executive body is Prime Minister. Prime Minister is the head of government who has the right to choose his own cabinet member by advising the King, which is also known as Indeputatan Agung, to appoint the cabinet member that's suggested by the Prime Minister. For example, in 2018, Tun Dr. Mahathir bin Mohamad has advised Indeputatan Agung to appoint Lim Kuan Eng as the Minister of Finance for Malaysia. Besides that, Prime Minister also has the right to set up date for meeting among cabinet members so agreement on policy that need to be implemented can be achieved. Minister of Finance has the responsibility of presenting and implementing the national budget in the country. For example, on 7 October 2022, former Minister of Finance, that is Tengku Zafrul bin Tun Abdul Aziz, has presented his paperwork at the House of Representatives that the government has allocated 372.3 billion ringgit for our country to increase the efficiency of services that are given by the public servant, reduce the finance burden that faced by the society, and stabilize and strengthen our country economy. He added that the government has allocated 73 million ringgit for the cyber security in Malaysia to increase the efficiency of eliminating the cyber scam, and 4.9 billion ringgit for the expenditure on vaccine and medicine.
Hello, my name is Grace Binti Hendrian, and today I will be presenting about what is legislative. In Malaysia, the legislative is made up of lower house and the upper house, which is consisting of representative of people and assisted by Prime Minister to enforce the law. A legislative is a type of representative deliberative assembly to their power to create, amend and approve the laws. Legislative are the laws that are established by the parliaments at federal level and by the state legislative. Legislative assemblies at the state level, parliament is known as a center to discuss and to decide in making a law. For example, in Article 55 of Federal Constitution, stipulates that only His Majesty, the King, can summon for Parliament to be in session. His Majesty also has the absolute power to prorogue or dissolve the Parliament. For the House of Representatives, the leader of the House or the deputy has to determine the dates of proceeding at least 28 days before the beginning of each session. Unless dissolved, the parliamentary proceedings will commence for 5 years from the date of the first proceeding conducted after the general elections. At the 5-year period, the parliament will be dissolved, and within 60 days from the date of its dissolution, a general election has to be held to elect representatives for the House of Representatives. Parliament proceedings must convene at the date not later than 120 days from the date of its dissolution. The power of legislative body is with Parliament, which consists of Yang di-Pertuan Agong (YDPA), the Senate, and the House of Representatives. Both houses in the Parliament play an important role in the legislative process. In Malaysia, a bill may be enacted upon by a lawmaking procedure duties in legislation, which is located in the legislature, include the duty to amend the constitution, approve the new law, repealing the old law and new law, and verifying its progress. All these processes occur in the legislature according to the prescribed legal procedure in which the Yang di-Pertuan Agong will approve the bill after it been tabled and debated in the House of Representatives and Senate. As a general rule, the parliament's power to make the laws for the whole of the federation or any part. Federal Parliament has jurisdiction over many important matters such as finance, commerce and industry, education, defense, and foreign affairs.
Hello, my name is Ava Simon. I will present about Judicial. Judicial is the body responsible for interpreting and implementing the law. This body is also known as the legal system, and its members consist of judges and magistrates who are usually appointed by the respective heads of state. They also usually work in court and cooperate in upholding the law. Judiciary of Malaysia is largely centralized, despite Malaysia Federal Constitution heavily influenced by the English common law as well as Islamic jurisprudence. Among the roles of the judiciary include judge civil action, interpreting the law, judge criminal prosecution, hear the voice of the lower court, making decrees on family matter, inheritance management, and issuing arrest warrant among the roles of the judiciary.
So, we all know the separation of power refers to the division of a state. Government into branches, each with separate independent powers and responsibilities, so that the powers of one branch are not in conflict with those of the other branch. It can be contrasted with the fusion of powers in parliamentary and semi-presidential system, where they can be overlap in membership and function between different branches, especially the executive, legislative, and judiciary, which is sometimes called the trias politica. So that's all. Thank you. State a reason of why separation of power must be introduced into a government.
Ensure each of authority doesn't use their power on other branches.
State one example of executive body and what is the function of the executive body.
Prime Minister is one of the examples of executive body. It has the function of choosing the cabinet members by advising the king, which also called as Yang di-Pertuan Agong, to appoint the cabinet members that suggested by Prime Minister. Set up date for meeting among cabinet members so agreement on policy that need to be implemented can be achieved.
What is the definition of executive?
Executive can be defined as a group of people who are responsible in making important decisions for the country, formulate policy, and implement the policy that has been made by the legislative body in the country.
Set the definition of judicial.
Judicial is a body that is responsible for interpreting and implementing the law.
List out 3 roles of the judiciary.
List out 3 roles of the judiciary. First, interpreting the law. Second, making decrees on family matters. Third, judge criminal prosecution.
What is legislative and state the function of the legislative?
A legislative is a type of representative, deliberative assembly where the power of creating, amending, and approving laws are given to the elected representative, and His Majesty has certain special power.
State 2 examples of legislative.
First, His Majesty the King can summon for Parliament to be in session. Second, His Majesty has the absolute power to dissolve Parliament.